How marketing perfection and ease collapses labor markets. Hi, my name is Sarah Trumble. I'm the founder and CEO of Job Applicant Perspective, the first anonymous user reviews for job ads across the US. Consider it like Yelp in a world of professionally mandated fine dining with no health department, no FDA, no requirement that anything on the menu has to exist, and multiple journalistic institutions that demonstrate that it really does, including the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. But hey, you know. We consider ourselves level of an ER for the job market, very similar to Reddit, except it's crowdsourced, but it's searchable and organized, and maybe a little better vetted. So, this is the level of go-to-market awareness, and I consider it a public service for anybody lost in the gaslighting, because whether or not you come to our website, honestly, you deserve way better than you're currently getting. So, yeah. This blog post is titled How Marketing Perfection and Ease Collapses Labor Markets. What is collapsing the well-being of the U.S. labor force and what to do about it? This comes through my Substack. If you're interested, you should check it out. Follow me. Also, you can check out LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, excuse me, and the other one, Facebook, Instagram too, that sort of thing. Universal fantasy. Modern hiring platforms don't just sell job ads, they sell a fantasy. Come on, they really do. Employers are promised the perfect hire, marketed like the fountain of youth, endlessly alluring, the whole world to choose from, find the perfect talent. But this isn't just about hiring. It's the same fantasy sold in dating, education, healthcare. The promise of a perfect, frictionless match that erases human messiness. The hook is subtle. You deserve this perfection. You deserve ease. In reality, these platforms have inverted the very idea of a market. They haven't built bridges of trust between people. They've built systems where the only consistent, reliable relationship you have is with the platform itself. This is the heart of the perfection trap. A system that profits not from connection, but from the chase, from distrust. Who is this for? For job seekers who are tired of applying endlessly, being ghosted, and then blamed for the very dysfunction that keeps platforms profitable. For employers who've been sold the fantasy of perfect hires, but find themselves spending more and waiting longer with fewer results. Economists and policymakers who need to understand that fantasy isn't reality, and that human systems only evolve when we face messy truths rather than chase impossible ideals. Anyone who's ever been told implicitly or explicitly, you deserve perfection, but the reason you don't have it is because of someone else. The fantasy for sale. A slot machine and a vending machine's clothing. Real hiring is messy. People change. Signals are noisy. Priorities shift. No candidate anywhere is perfect. I mean, that's my thesis. Pretty much. Humans aren't perfect. That's the truth. But the system erases all of that. The promised ease of online hiring is a slot machine disguised as a vending machine with an invisible algorithm that hand-waving assures us is unbiased. Genuinely. I mean, come on now. You keep pulling the lever because maybe the next spin delivers the flawless candidate. Also, if you're interested in that unbiased algorithm, I do believe that Workday, the litigation lawsuit around ageism, is going to court. I could be wrong. But I would be so surprised if it's only just that. I'm sorry, but for employers, the engagement loop isn't about not being erased as it is for candidates. It's about staying hooked on the original fantasy. The belief that you should never have to compromise, that perfection is deserved and anything else is beneath you. Here's the secret. Selling ease, perfection, or superiority isn't just about driving job seekers to perfectionistic despair. It's about controlling employers. As long as someone's sense of self relies on superiority or an entitlement to ease, they're yours, dudes. I'm just saying. Patriarchy. The trick isn't to have anything to deliver. It's to have someone or something to blame the lack of delivery on. The architecture of extraction. how the inversion works. Vanity powers a ruthless engine. Deference and superiority may look like opposites, shame versus entitlement, but they are complementary gears in the same machine. Job seekers are conditioned into deference. Wait politely, submit resumes, accept silence. Their deference becomes revenue. They don't fight to win so much as not to be erased. The desperation becomes the engine that fuels churn. Employers are conditioned into superiority. They deserve protection, and the right hire is always one more post away. Their identity is rooted in superiority and thus becomes revenue. Instead of choosing good enough candidates, they choose the next fix. I consider it red pilling for employers myself. And honestly, for the rest of my life, I'm going to be terrified of someone selling me superiority, because what they're really selling me is planned obsolescence. That's what it feels like for human connection. This creates what I title, back to the point, an inverted market. An intended market has user-to-user trust. Trusting will circulate horizontally. Humans transact directly. You basically go to the market knowing that you're going to engage not with a perfect person, but with a reliably, predictably imperfect person. Yeah? Think if you've ever been to a physical market, if you're a millennial age, did you watch Aladdin? When you go to the apple seller, he's just a reliably imperfect apple seller, But in an inverted market, you're having a user to platform trust. In the actual market, the market should be neutral. But in an online market, that's not happening. You're having trust with the platform. Trust signals are filtered vertically through the platform. There's no horizontal. Opacity forces reliance on the intermediary. You don't know what the algorithm's going to do next or what the employer is thinking, and they just promise to tell you. Humans transact with the platform about each other. The result, the platform becomes your pseudo relationship, while your distrust of other users deepens. The dysfunction itself, the churn, the ghosting, the endless applications is not a flaw. It's the product. It's the architecture of extraction, like cats in the back. The kaleidoscope versus the telescope. From the outside, these platforms look like tools to see the market, but the lens you're handed matters. A telescope shows the same reality to everyone, an objective, shared view. You zero in on the right thing, for sure. A kaleidoscope shows a private, shifting, algorithmically personalized pattern designed around engagement, not truth. This explains the fight over ghost jobs, skills gaps, and nobody wants to work anymore. Your kaleidoscope doesn't show the same patterns as mine. We argue about why the other's not acknowledging our lived reality, forgetting the other's looking at a different reality. Think about it in that example I had where Aladdin is in the marketplace. They all exist in the same marketplace at the same time. In an online platform, the marketplace is algorithmically individualized for each of us. We're not opening up the same newspaper. An employer upset about a job seeker's complaints about ghost jobs is like a Michigander exacerbated with a Californian. Prove that In-N-Out ads are even real. Of course, employers wouldn't see them. Not in your feed. But the illusion is designed so you never ask whether or not your map is complete. The void is the product. The inversion isn't unique to hiring. It's a blueprint for monetizing any human relationship market. On dating apps, you came for love, but you stayed for the swiping loop. Buy more premium visibility. You deserve better. See all these people. There's a whole world in the palm of your hands. The pattern's the same. So one-side entitlement, top talent is out there. Just post. So the other side duty, be grateful, perform harder, never question. Keep both sides skeptical of each other so they invest their trust vertically into the platform. Trust between people is hard to monetize. Distrust is easy. When you don't trust each other, you turn to the platform for security. The void between participants isn't an accident. It's the business model. Scapegoats hold the illusion together. When reality intrudes, stalled hires, ghosting, turnover, talent shortages, the dysfunction has to land somewhere. it never lands on the system itself. Instead, the blame is displaced onto job seekers. Lazy, unqualified, not a cultural fit, too demanding. By scapegoating those with the least power, the platforms preserve the fantasy of perfection. The system profits not from resolving the labor market, but from passing off its inefficiencies in a plausible enough fashion until the gig is up and there are no more billions to extract. Please keep in mind that this is homelessness and economic collapse for our national economy when the job market is a signal layer for all other marketplaces. Any system that sells perfection requires a scapegoat. It works the same in education, healthcare, politics, etc. The abuse of the scapegoat isn't about delivering solutions. It's about a distraction and delivering a plausible reason for whomever is doing the promising to not have achieved them so that they get to keep their status as a power broker without ever having had the capacity to deliver. I really think that any variation of a dating coach that engages like Andrew Tate is very much using the same playbook. I'm just saying. In hiring, each stakeholder distrusts the other, requiring them to find a middleman, which was the whole point in the first place. The way out is to break the kaleidoscope. The dysfunction is the product, and superiority is the diction that keeps the money train from ignoring the reality of why functionality never arrives. The only way out is to rebuild horizontal trust and face the messiness directly. At the job applicant perspective, we're building these shared maps. We're the first crowdsourced, verified review platform for job ads designed to flag ghost jobs instantly, expose broken pipelines in real time, and give job seekers and employers, and give job seekers and employers shared visibility into what actually works. We believe a functioning job market requires reliable, repeatable outcomes, not perfect ones. We're not having you go there to always meet a perfect apple seller. We're having you go there to meet a real apple seller. That's why friction isn't always bad. Messiness isn't always bad. Sometimes it just lets you know that it's real. Real people are silly and foolish and dumb about something or not another thing. They're quirky. They're odd. That's what people are, Perfect people? Yeah, you can't trust that. It's not real. We believe a function market requires reliable, repeatable outcomes, not perfect ones. It's about recognizing that the people that don't choose you are irrelevant to your process. The real question is, who are your people? Look, think about it the other way around. You don't need to be upset when you're Marvel that the indie film goers didn't come to your film. Indie film goers, they're not your people. The Marvel superhero people are your people, The people running wine bars aren't upset that the people loving beer aren't at their place. They're looking for the people running wine bars who like wine. That's a thing, Closing reflection. Superiority, like deference, is a mechanism of value capture. One side is flattered with promises of perfection. The other absorbs the blame for failure. Like a snake oil salesman, the cycle continues until you see the pattern. Almost always, it's neither the person who's being blamed nor the person who feels superior. It's the person who's doing the promising in the middle. I really feel like there's a lesson here outside of the markets, Employers aren't buying hires. They're buying entitlement to comfort and superiority as an identity. Mega, I really, really think you need to think on this. Real marketplaces, whether offline or online, is built on reliable, repeatable outcomes, not perfect ones. And the signal layer for the entire economy cannot run on illusion. This is about grounding hiring in reality, ending the business model where confusion is monetized, treating messiness as something to manage, not something to erase. When the kaleidoscope breaks, we can finally start seeing each other again. That's it. I hope you stop by. I'm obviously a person with opinions outside of this, but I follow patterns, and this is the pattern. Whenever someone sells you superiority and another side entitlement, another side deference, what they're selling is dysfunction with a built-in scapegoat. And usually the person in the middle doing the selling is the person you need to be careful of. That's the read. But in my case, in particular in markets, I think that it's pretty demonstrable based on all of the logical evidence, like fiscal year reports, like revenue, like JOLTS hires to openings, all of that, and or, millions upon millions of job seekers describing it everywhere on social media for, a decade at least. So there's that too. But anyway, job applicant perspective, I know that it's new, but try to realize, job seekers, you're consumers. You're consumers in a $600 billion marketplace that profits from your wasted time. Of course you get to talk about it. Of course you do. You get to talk about it. That's what you get to do. You should use the job applicant perspective. You deserve better. We create the honeymoon together, Stay sane. Lots of love. You deserve way better than this. Bye.